Hey there, how are you today? My name is Dana Damara. Welcome to Astrocast. Um, I would tell you a funny story. Well, I guess I'll just tell you a funny story. So, right before this recording, I was trying to sum up the theme for this full moon. And at the same time, I was also getting ready for my teacher training meeting for tomorrow night. And we're going to work on Sanskrit. And I wanted to know what, and I won't cuss, WTF was and how you say that in Sanskrit. So if anyone knows how to say that in Sanskrit, I would be really grateful to know because that's really this energy of this moon. And those of you who know me, you know that I like to keep things just serious enough to understand how to use the energy and then add enough humor and lightheartedness so that we don't get all wrapped up in it, right? Um, so a couple things with this full moon. First of all, with any lunation that we are dealing with at any point in time, we want to be able to remember that every single lunation will be different for everyone. Everyone will experience it a little bit differently based on your chart. And when I say your chart, I mean your natal chart, right? So if you've got a birthday around this time, it's going to be different. You're going to experience this one differently than if somebody that has a birthday, say in February, right? And so when I give you these aspects and the information about any kind of lunation, any kind of astrological forecast, please remember that it's different for everyone. And if you ever want to know how this energy lines up with your energy in particular, that's when you get your chart read. So I do that as well. So if that's something that you are interested in, please do let me know. And a lot of people are getting their charts read now for 2022 because you can kind of take a look and see what's happening in 2022 and line up your chart and see just kind of what's, I don't want to say what's going to happen because that's not a true statement. It's more like, how is this energy that's coming up potentially affecting or could affect you? And how can you work with the energy, right? It doesn't mean that when Mercury goes into retrograde, everybody better hide out. Like that's not that's not a true statement. Although sometimes we do feel that way, don't we? So, anyways, just take this information with a grain of salt, and then remember that in the very beginning, before this recording, I personally was asking how to say what the in Sanskrit. So because that's this energy. I wrote a post already on my Instagram at Dana Damara Evolution. If you don't already follow me, I would say you can go there. But I wrote a post already that kind of called out this week's theme, which is transitions. And this, those of you who've been going through transitions, you know, you're like, yeah, I get it. That's what this week is about. And this, when I say this week, it's this week leading up to this full moon. And we're already in the thick of the energy. We really are. It really matters. Like you can really start to feel the energy from the upcoming full moon a couple of days before or a couple of days after. But we're always feeling the phases of the moon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you on the screen what this lunation looks like. And then I'm going to put on my glasses so that I can see really well. So there's a couple little aspects I want to go over. First of all, it's a full moon because the moon and the sun are across from each other in the sky, which means that the sun is actually illuminating the moon. Moon wouldn't be able to really shine if it didn't rely on the sun. And I love this full moon. It's actually, here we go, Friday, November 19th at 12:57 a.m. So those of you who can potentially get outside, we do have an eclipse at that time too. And it's a partial lunar eclipse. So it's not going to be as like crazy as a full moon lunar eclipse, a full eclipse, but it is partial eclipse. And if you're awake, get out, go see it. Not sure where you are in the world. But I love a couple of things. One is this, the degree at which the moon and the sun are at is 27 degrees. And 27 is really a number of abundance and change and transformation. And it's numerology. So it's the 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 is the last digit, single digit. In a lot of mythology, mysticism, religions, countless ologies, the number 9 is the sign of an ending. Now, with an eclipse, it is a big sign of endings and beginnings, period, end of story. That's just the way it is. It's like you're turning off the power button on your computer by holding that button down, right? And you're like, gosh darn it, my computer froze. I'm going to hold the button down. That's like an eclipse. And so then there's all this work going on behind the scenes, right? So, we have this energy, this full moon in Taurus, which is house, home, hearth, sensuality, really how we relate to pleasure and love and life. That's a full moon lunar eclipse. So the definition or the way that you value certain things in your life could shift for whatever reason. I personally have been feeling this for a very long time, since the beginning of 2020, maybe even a little bit before. Little rumblings, and now it's like really loud. And so those of you who've been doing the work, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who haven't doing the work and you're like, I don't even know what she's talking about, you're still in it. You're still right there, sitting right next to all of us. So just be stoked that you're awake and aware enough to actually pay a little bit of attention to what's going on. The other thing I want to talk about is this right here. We have Mars. I'm going to talk about this. Mars is opposite Uranus. Mars is the initiator, aka instigator in some moments in time. And he is opposite Uranus. It's kind of like he's like, hey, come on, let's make those changes. He's like trying to get that Uranus to push those changes and the feelings of liberation through for you. It's interesting because I even when I say this, before I even record any of this, I'm going to go ahead and stop share. I don't really write anything. I have like a few notes of what's happening, and then I just kind of ask for guidance. But Mars opposite Uranus, think about it this way. Mars is the initiator or the instigator, and Uranus is all about change and liberation and, wanting something new and free. And so when you have these two planets opposing each other, you've got this push toward your own liberation and being free from any restrictions that you've placed on yourself. So even when we find ourselves saying things like, this person annoys me, or my job, I feel very stifled in my job, say for example, or energy in this relationship doesn't feel like it used to, or whatever, right? If you're even pointing the finger out for a moment of like this person, this thing, this external circumstance, right? I really invite you to just go and think back to the time when you made the decision to get into that position that you're in, and understand why you chose to be there in that particular moment in time. And then understand that what's happened between then and now is now you have Mars opposite Uranus saying, hey, time to go. But you also have evolved. And so things have changed. So it doesn't mean that any decision you made before this moment in time is wrong, or you need to jump out of the car or off the train. You don't have to do that, but you do have to know that it's time for change. So you want to start loosening the grip that you have, and whatever that is that Mars and Uranus are opposing each other about. And what I would say is that when I'm going to share the screen one more time so I can show it to you. Some of you, I've heard from a lot of you, and some people are like, I love when you show the screen, and some people don't care, but so I'm going to keep showing the screen. It helps me to remember so I don't miss anything. But you have the moon, which is right up here, and it's squaring Jupiter, which means it's also squaring the sun. And Mercury is still sitting right here next to the sun. Okay, so you have, first of all, Mercury conjunct the sun is all about communication, and not just what you speak or what you say or even what you write or how you put words out there, but it's also about how you're assimilating information, like how you're hearing things. So maybe, 6 months ago, somebody may have said something to you, or a sign came across your path, but you weren't really paying attention, or you had other things happening. Now that will come back around and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. Right. And so be aware of these things potentially happening. I'm not saying it will, but just be awake and aware to it. But Moon square Jupiter and Sun square Jupiter and every planet actually has two sides. Okay. So as with everything, we have a dark and a light everywhere we go, everywhere we look. There's two sides, Shiva, Shakti, right? And our intention as beings on this planet is to continue to find a sense of homeostasis or balance. And I've done that with the practice of yoga my whole life. I do that with grounding, working in the garden, and I do that with looking up at the sky, right? So Jupiter has two sides. One is like expansion and wisdom and allowing for freedom and enhancement, and like anything I look at is going to expand, and that is great. Okay. But remember, Jupiter also has another side, and that is like over exaggeration, overspending, like, thinking, like, for example, I just had a retreat that was planned, and I had to cancel it, and doesn't matter why, I had to cancel it. So I have this whole thing with retreats where I do not touch a dime until that retreat is over and I have left the retreat center. And I just have always done that because not out of fear, but out of practicality. Like, I'm not going to over exaggerate or spend something before it's truly quote unquote mine. So sometimes we have this play in our mind where we're like, oh, I have this lofty idea and this lofty idea, and this is going to totally happen. And you could completely exaggerate. You can also do this in relationships. So like with money, home, job, relationship, you go on one date, and then all of a sudden, like, that man or woman is like your life partner, and you've been on one date, right? You've already like put in your mind what you want it to be. And so there is some real beauty to this type of being, but there's also a you don't want to jump off a ledge. So just be really mindful. Know that with this type of aspect, you can, and you can anyways, create that which you truly desire. Like, we all have that power to say, like, this is my desire, and I see it and I feel it and I'm ready. And ask yourself where that's coming from. Ask yourself, is this a repetitive thought processes that I'm recreating based out of ego? And then also, check in with your deep-seated emotions. I'm going to get to that in a second, because our deep-seated emotions will either create that which is in true alignment with our soul, or that's still a lesson that you need to be learning. I don't know what you got. So I would say, and remember the moon's in Taurus, Sun in Scorpio. So Taurus is all about home, hearth, health, money, finances, how secure you feel, value system. And Venus is, I'm going to show you this too, so you can see it. And this is beautiful, actually, because Venus, where's Venus? Here's Venus. Venus in Capricorn is actually trining Uranus. So Venus trining Uranus is really about joy and happiness and fun and lightheartedness. And, Venus wants you to feel valued. Venus wants you to know your value. Venus wants you to get rid of all of the people, ideas, situations that you have created in your life that have devalued yourself. And Venus wants you to go, hey, just forget all that shit and start valuing yourself. Start focusing on fun. Start focusing on what you love. Forget about these illusions of obligation and responsibility. I mean, and I'm a parent, so, take that with a grain of salt as well. But find yourself making choices that actually make you really happy. And if there's like angstiness or anger or resentment or fear, get to the root of it and pull that damn root. Just be like, done. And I'm going to like cut all those roots and get rid of them because I don't even want it anymore. That's Venus trine Uranus. Remember, it's an eclipse. The eclipse is going to go, well, oh, hello. What do you want now? Here, let me do that again for effect. Hold on. Okay. The eclipse is going to go like this. Now what? Right? So be really aware of how you feel underneath the hole when somebody says, well, so how are you? And you go, oh, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that's great. If that's bullshit, the universe knows it's bullshit. So get to the bullshit and get rid of it so that you can say, like, this is what I'm really feeling, and this is what I really want, and this I'm complete with, and this I'm complete with. Because we have another eclipse coming up in the beginning of December 3rd, if I remember correctly. And then we have Venus going into retrograde. When Venus goes into retrograde, it is all about a reevaluation of your relationships. Then we have Saturn and Uranus squaring each other for the last time of 2021. So it's kind of like it's a time right now to really, if you haven't already, just get rid of this stuff. And you have to trust. That's the other thing. Sun is trining Neptune with this full moon too. And the Sun and trining Neptune is, it'll enhance and it'll exaggerate your fantasies or your illusions or these aspects of things that you desire. And maybe those things that you used to think were kind of out of your reach, maybe you just haven't wanted them bad enough, and now's the time, if that makes sense. And the moon is trining Pluto too. I'll show you. I keep forgetting to show you. So the moon is trining Pluto. Here's Pluto, right? So the moon is trining Pluto, and that's all about your psychic ability, which is like, it's like the dial just turned on to like amplification. And so you have this energy that's asking you to really tune out all the noise, which comes from your overthinking mind, and then get really in tune with your psychic abilities. Just ask spirit. Like somebody laughed at me the other day. Actually, I don't think they were laughing at me. I think they were like really in true question. They were like, so you just ask spirit and then it comes, and I'm like, well, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's not like I'm lazy and I go, I think I'll just sit here until spirit delivers it to me. No, I practice, ritual, pray, meditate, move, journal, and then like amplification turn on, Some people take medicinals to do that. I don't. I just, make that sound when you do it though. Anyways, so one thing I want to talk about, let me make sure, I'm going to look here. So anything you're going to focus on will enhance. Don't over exaggerate. Don't like count your chickens before they're hatched. My mom used to say. She still says it actually. But it's a good lesson. It's a good thing to do. But I do want to say this. So, and I wrote this in my post. Okay. So the Taurus full moon on Friday, November 19th also aligns with this. It's known as a destructive star. So it's like this dark star called Algol. Okay. And Algol, again, how you perceive this is really up to you. When someone tells me that there's some negative aspect saying coming up in my chart, right? I will look at that and go, all right, well, there's something that's going to be tense that might come up. I might feel stressed. I might not understand. So I amplify and try to work with that energy. This is like Algol. Okay. So Algol is going to test you on your ability to trust the process of whatever's happening in your life, whatever transition you're going through. And also, Algol is like Pluto. I think of this kind of the same thing, but not really. Algol will want you to go deep into your subconscious beliefs and your thoughts and your emotions, and work with them instead of ignoring them. Oh, I'm fine. Totally fine. Algol's like, no, you're not. So try to look at this energy as a positive thing. And if something comes up for you, go ahead and feel whatever you feel. But if you got something to move through, this is the week before or just after the eclipse. Okay. I already got my appointment scheduled. I think that's about it, really. I mean, I would say this full moon really is like overall, it's a beautiful opportunity to really feel into all the gifts that have been present for you, all of the challenges that have been present for you, and trying to see them as one and the same thing, even though I know that can be really hard. Trust me, I know. And then just learning how to work with the energy, and if something comes up and it's like, wait a minute, I had all my shit together, I don't understand. Instead of going down that road in the mind, you might for a second, and then just like pick yourself off that path, come back and say, okay, I know this is for the best and highest good, but I don't understand. So could you just show me? And then just turn it up. If you want your chart read, I would love to do that for you. It's like one of my very favorite things to do. And it's not a luxury. It's a sweet blueprint. I record them so you have it and go back to it. Just reach out to me. And then this Wednesday, I'm doing a full moon circle at Alila up in La Costa. And I would love to have you. We're going to be in the ballroom this time, and we're going to do it just after sunset because sunset's so early now and it gets a little chilly, and the bowls are really hard to play in the cold, honestly. So we'll go for the sunset and then go into the ballroom, and the acoustics are epic. So if you can join us, please do. You can get all that on my website at danadamara.com, or please feel free to send me a note. Thank you so much. It's going to be a great, great full moon, I promise. Just don't go around saying like, I'm fine. Like, dig deep. Pull the roots. Thank you so much. Have such a beautiful day. Namaste.